It's going to be all about the heart space. You hear me? The heart space. The heart space. That's so important, you know. We hear a lot of emphasis put in mental control, you know, mental stability. And all that's good. But the heart space, the heart space is so important. You hear me? It's so important. I say that because the heart part, that's the hard part. We think we go through battles in our mind. Man, if you feel, words can't even sometimes describe what you feel. If you don't listen, you're gonna miss it. And one thing I know, since I've been here as a human being, is we as human beings, you know, I ain't gonna say people. I'm gonna say we as human beings, because I'm not excluded from anything I say. But we as human beings, we'll run away. We'll run away from anything that put us in a place that we really have to feel what it is that we experiencing, what we want to experience, or that we may desire to experience. If you look closely through your own life, you'll be able to find some truth in that. You hear me? I brought us to that reflection and remembrance of some of yesterday's message. Some of yesterday's message dealt with letting go. Some of yesterday's message dealt with putting things behind. Some of yesterday's message, like every message, dealt with growth. Some of yesterday's message, just like every message, deals with healing. Some of yesterday's message, just like every message, deals with life scenarios, because I don't use nothing else. You hear me? Some of yesterday's message, just like every other message, deal with things that we deal with each and every day. Each and every day. And that's a beautiful thing, because there's so many things that's made to appear important concerning our everyday life that holds no importance concerning our everyday life. How many things have you learned that in your day-to-day life show no signs of you actually being able to use? You know, just as much things as we know that we can use, is just as much more that we know that we can't use at all. You hear me? But to bring it to my point, you know, yesterday's message dealt with putting behind what no longer serves you, what no longer serves me, what no longer serves us. But my question to myself, my question to you, my question to us is, what does that mean to you? What does that mean to you? Put behind what no longer serves you. First of all, let me ask you, is there anything in your life that you feel no longer serves you? Because we got to know what's in our life that no longer serves us before we can be able to put it behind, you know? So is there anything in our life that no longer serves us beneficially? Beneficially, meaning to grow, to heal, to expand, further, forward, not in reverse. What's in your life that no longer serving your purpose of being affiliated with it? What's in your life that's no longer necessary or you being connected to it? It could be people, it could be people, it could be a place, it could be a thing, you know, it could be anything. It could be an activity, you know. I've been through my phases too. I used to do a lot of things once upon a time that I no longer do now because it no longer serves me for how I'm operating, how I'm vibrating, and what I resonate in today. What's in your life that no longer serves you? Put behind what no longer serves us. What does that mean? To me, that means that I should be in a total different. And when I say different, I mean elevated. I mean higher. I mean prosperous. I mean abundant. I mean joyful. I mean good. I mean exciting. I mean exhilarating. I should be in a total different space, not only personally, but generationally, because I ain't get here through myself. I came through somebody. So what speaks for me speaks to the generations that came before me, since I'm the one who doing this. You hear me? And if you the one who doing it for the generations that you came through, then you'll understand exactly what I'm saying. You know, we should be in a totally different generational cycle than what we came through. Not because we should be, because shit don't just happen. You know, if you in a totally different generational cycle than what you came through, it's because you did something. And if you did something, it took for you to do something. You hear me? It took for you to create it. I'm in a totally different generational cycle because I created it. I created it from all I came through. Who am I talking to? Because what I'm doing in me, somebody on the other side of this message doing within themselves. You hear me? And if you did it, if you did it, you already won. If you did it, you know, because you already won. Now, if you look for the external, if you look for the outer, if you look for the spectators, if you look for your observers, if you look for family, if you look for friends, if you look for your neighbor to validate that, to validate you, then you already missed it. You forfeited your own trophy. But if you haven't, you already won. Now that's gonna mean something different to each and everybody who here. But putting behind what no longer serves you is something only each and every one of us can do. And to be able to do that, we're gonna have to recognize some things. So it's a good time to think about all the ways that we have been blessed, through all the things that we don't learn. You hear me? Through all the lessons. You heard? It's a beautiful journey. Even at my lowest, it's such a beautiful journey that I'm able to say, even at my lowest states, even in my lowest places, even in the lowest realms of when I was operating in my lower self, my frequency was way higher than my peers. My frequency was way higher than those around me, and it ain't had nothing to do with me. It's just the divine spark that was placed in the spirit that I came here to be, But I saw things different. I experienced things different. Even experiencing things with those who I came through and came up with and came around to experience things with. I saw it all different. So I was experiencing it different. And I ain't know then the way that I know it now. I was always in a totally different space. And I say that to say, if every day and everything not spiritual to you, to us, it's a great perspective. Mercury in retrograde. I ain't gonna blame that on why I'm stuttering, but it's just acknowledgement that I'm stuttering. You hear me? But when we can live from a place where every day and everything is spiritual, and you ain't gotta see yourself as spiritual to do that. It's just a perception. It's gonna allow the journey, whatever time we have left, to be a lot easier, a lot smoother than how it's been. You hear me? That's the space I live from. That's the space I have lived from. If not all my life, most of my life. Consciously. I want to make a point to say that consciously, because we need to be conscious of the space that we living from. We need to be conscious of the feelings that we living from. Unless you in your feelings, you need to be conscious of the space that you living from. You hear me? And for many of us, the hardest part of the journey, because this ain't been overnight. It's been a long time. I've been on this journey a long time. And for many of us, the hardest part of the journey, for those of us who woke up before those around us was waking up before those around us was waking up. You hear me? And a lot of times we end up being the catalyst. We end up being the catalyst in way more many ways than we may have intended. It could be good or bad, and it could be indifferent, depending on what type of entities, that we're operating with through people. As we get more familiar with the entity that we operating with within ourselves. You hear me? If you don't listen, you're gonna miss it. But everybody a spark plug to somebody. I said all that to say that everybody a spark plug to somebody, regardless of where you operating in or where you operating from. You hear me? Everybody a spark plug to somebody. To get so we all get interactivated, good, bad, or indifferent. Whatever experiences we having is so we all get activated. How we perceive them, how we view them, how we analyze them, and what we do with them. That's totally up to each and every one of us. That ain't nobody's fault. But on my journey, It's been beautiful, you know. And not because my journey been my journey, you know, because the ancestors lived through me by way of me still being here. And I say that because we give ourselves way too much credit. Honor to the ancestors. Honor to the ancestors. Honor to the ancestors. We give ourselves way too much credit. And the reason that I say that is because what was left for us to do, in my opinion, from my view, is light work. We got left with the easy part, man. The ancestors did all the heavy lifting. And we be honest, the ancestors did all the heavy lifting. So I could have a lot to complain about if I chose to be a complainer, but I ain't got nothing to complain about. I'm grateful. You hear me? I don't think nobody on this planet should have nothing to complain about, because what we've been left with to carry us on is the easy part. The ancestors did all the heavy lifting. You hear me? For real. For us to have whatever type of opportunity that we having. You hear me? Yeah. All we had to do was work on ourselves. That's it. See? And that's why I say the hard part is the hard part. It's the hard part. But that's the smartest move that we can make, because the mushy things, the mushy things make people uncomfortable. You hear me? You could tell who ain't healing just by talking about what's heartfelt to you, you know, and pay attention. Pay attention to the energy shifts, you know. Pay attention. You hear me? For real. Self-work take work, man. Self-work take work. But the reason that I say we give ourselves too much credit, it ain't nothing wrong with that. It ain't nothing wrong with that. Not if it's balanced, not if it's in harmony, you know, and it's not causing harm to nobody else. Ain't nothing wrong with that, you know. But we can't forget those that came before us. The ancestors did all the heavy lifting, you hear me? They did all the heavy lifting. They created an opportunity for us to be aware of what we bringing into this construct, what we bringing into this reality, what we bringing into this matrix, what we bringing upon this grid, whatever you know it as, you know, gave us an opportunity to be more aware of what we bringing to each other. You hear me? What we bringing to each other. And I say that because self-work take work, but it shouldn't feel like it. It take work, but self-work shouldn't feel like work. That's like being employed on a job that you don't enjoy. So self-work shouldn't feel like work. And if it do, it's a change of perception that's needed, you know. I can't even imagine feeling conflicted about doing something that's beneficial for me. Whether it's thinking good, eating good, exercising, whatever the case may be. I can't even think of a reason to have a problem with that. Unless it's a problem in me. You know, and there's gonna be some problems in me, you hear me? I ain't perfect. I'm working. I'm putting work in. You hear me? But it's just some things I want us to think about, you know. And sometimes You know, I found some myself telling someone this just the other day. Sometimes you gotta trick people to help them grow. Sometimes you gotta trick people to help them heal. Sometimes you gotta trick people to get them to feel. You hear me? That don't involve deceit. That don't involve deceit, and I don't say that to involve deceit, but I say that to involve creativity. I say that to involve a little crafty, knowing how to be crafty. You hear me? It's like getting a child to eat some vegetables that they are normally turned down, but you put something in it but you put some extra in it to make sure they like the taste. You hear me? Sometimes you gotta trick people, you know, to get them to grow, and I understand that. You hear me? I just want to continue to encourage us, you know. I want to continue to motivate us. I want to continue to inspire us as I do for myself. You know, we don't been through what most people couldn't, you know. It got through it. Not only did we get through it, we still doing our thing. You hear me? Transformation, transmutation, transformation, growth. What your energy bringing out of people? What do your energy draw out of people? My energy do all kind of things. But what do your energy draw out of people? You know this through the experiences you having. And through the experiences you had, you know all the old tricks. You hear me? So stay on point. You know, don't allow the new self or the better version of self, you know, to get caught in old tricks. The old tricks gonna appear through old people, you know, old circumstances, old behaviors. But if you already outgrow them, you already know what's on the tube. You already know what channel you watching. You hear me? It served the purpose for us to know what we need to know in order for us to grow. You hear me? It ain't all been bad, and it ain't all been good. You hear me? But it's been an experience. I say that to say, I'm glad that it took some of the worst things to happen to get to the best part of me. You hear me? I hope somebody that hear this message find themselves being able to say the same thing. Wherever you find yourself, I hope you find yourself saying that it took some of the worst things to get to the best part of you. And if you did that, it's easy for you to say that. If you recognize that, it's easy for you to say that, you know. And it's all good. Because whatever occurred, it's all been beneficial, even when it didn't feel like it, you know. I don't hear nothing else. So we're going to close with that. You hear me? Your ultimate growth comes from within. I want to leave us with that. We're going to put a baby. We're going to put a baby. We're going to use a baby to symbolize the inner child. So we're going to put a baby in the emoji section. You hear me? Because we need to stay tapped into that. You know, the inner child, the heart part. That's the inner child deal with the heart. So I want us to stay connected to that place. You know, it's not bad. It's not bad to be headstrong. You know, but it's even better to be heartfelt. You hear me? We're gonna put a baby signifying the inner child, the curiosity of the inner child, the imagination of the inner child, the wonderment of the inner child. You know, the creativity of the inner child. You hear me? And don't forget that you the magic that shifts the dynamic. You hear me? You the magic that shifts the dynamic. We're gonna put the inner child in the comment section for the end of the month raffle. I want to encourage us to continue to feel good for no reason at all. If you don't have one, find one. You hear me? It's an honor to come through and weed through these spaces. You hear me? And leave out without getting nothing on me. You hear me? I know it gets sticky sometimes. I know it get icky sometimes because we all dealing with things in the levels that we're able to deal with them. But it's necessary. You hear me? It's necessary. You know. And it's the things that can't be bought that need to be cultivated the most. Because these things that I express, these qualities, these attributes, so forth and so on, these energies, they can't be bought. They have to be cultivated. You hear me? And you can experience any and all those attributes, all these qualities, all the characteristics that I use to describe us in our experiences. You can choose any one you want at any time you want. But that's exactly what we're gonna have to do. We have to choose. And if you could choose, you have power to do it. And you can. You hear me? Just take your time and do it right. You heard? Put the inner child in the comment section. Feel good for no reason at all. Thanks for the likes, shares, comments, questions, donations, love, offerings, peace out, woos, so forth and so on. I see y'all. I appreciate y'all. And we gonna keep putting work in. You hear me? My name is Sawu.